40 clove garlic chicken sounds scary if you're a vampire, or if you just haven't tried it before. The usual reaction is that's way too much garlic. However, the chicken is cooked for quite a while, so the garlic mellows considerably. There are dozens of recipes for the simplistic version online and in books, but none that are like what I'm showing you here. This process begins by smoking the peeled garlic cloves, which transfers a smoky flavor to the chicken. I've made some other modifications too. Now you get crisp skin, much more complex flavor, and the garlic really sings without being aggressively burning.
Now normally I don't use anywhere near this much wood in the smoker, but in this case this is different because we're imparting the smoke flavor to something that's going to in turn impart a smoke flavor to something else. So we need it to be really smoky. I've got about 2 tablespoons of wood chips in here. Put this plate down, and normally I line this with foil, but it's a different situation here. Now the grates that you put on here next are too wide. The garlic will just fly through it. So put foil over the top of this, put it in, and then take a knife you don't care about and poke holes. Why don't I care about this knife? This is a Kyocera ceramic knife, and this is what happens to it. This is what happens to it if you drop it off of a countertop. So now it has very little purpose in the kitchen, but works fine for this. Okay, now garlic itself. Make sure it's centered in the middle, and we begin heating it. And as soon as you start seeing smoke coming out of it, then you close it up and begin counting the time. And after the 10 minutes is up, this is what we want to see. Nice orange garlic with little spots of brown on them. Now I'm going to slide this close and let it absorb the rest of the smoke off the heat. Okay, I've got about 1.6 kilograms of chicken here. That's about 3.5 pounds. And I've cleaned it up. I've trimmed any rib bones and loose skin, extra skin off of the edges. This is all dark meat. You can do it with breast meat, but it won't be as good. Poke some holes in it with a sharp knife into the skin, and then we're going to give it a little coating here. Just a second. I have here in a little mixing cup the garlic powder, salt, and the flour, and I've got cracked black pepper. That's that half teaspoon of cracked black peppercorns. Don't use finely ground. Give this a little stir around first. Then we're going to sprinkle this over the chicken. Put a lid on it and give this a good shake to make sure that it's evenly coated. I'm using a very large Calphalon pan here, and I'm going to add a mixture of bacon fat and duck fat to it, which would have been traditional at the time. You can just use vegetable oil if you want. Obviously this will be more flavor. And I've got the chicken here. I'm going to put in, the pan is not searing hot. The pan's at about 150 Celsius, 300 Fahrenheit. I'm going to put all of the chicken in a single layer. That's why I'm using this huge pan here. And we're going to cook this fairly slowly. There's some nice space between them, as you can see. Nice space between the pieces so that they're not crowded and steaming. And it's important to cook these slowly. This is about 20 minutes now. They've been in the pan on a reasonably low heat. And we've got some nice browning now, as you can see. Now we're going to give them a few minutes on the other side. Now, after about 5 minutes, we're going to add the white wine, about 90 milliliters of dry white wine to this. Then the tarragon. And all went in one corner, so we'll mix it around a little bit. These things happen. A lot of the alcohol's already evaporated. We're going to add those 40 cloves of smoked garlic in there. fresh thyme over the top to be generous. And a little shot of cognac, about a tablespoon or so, just a little sprinkle. Now, put the lid on and this goes into the oven. For about an hour, take it out of the oven. Now when it comes time to plating it up, you put however many pieces you want, like this in a tray. You're going to flash this under the broiler to crisp up the skin. Not traditional, but this is going to make it better. We've got the garlic cloves in the pan sauce ready, a little bit of fresh parsley, and this goes into the broiler.
I'm very pleased to announce the release of Volume 3, The Focus on Food Chemistry. I want to clear up a few things about these 3 volumes. First, they all contain completely different information. There's no duplication, they're not revisions. When I wrote Volume 1, I had 2.5 years of YouTube videos to cover. People had been asking me for the printed list of ingredients for all of those dishes, and so I obliged. There are recipes with stepwise directions and many tips offered throughout, as well as an extensive history of Russian cuisine over the last 1,000 years, but Volume 1 is very different from Volume 2 and 3. In Volumes 2 and 3, I only had about 9 months of YouTube recipes to cover in each, so I was able to provide stepwise directions for everything. In Volume 2, I included a lot of additional information about cooking and some simple examples of flavor chemistry to set the stage for Volume 3. While Volume 2 hopefully got you thinking about some of the processes that go on in cooking and how flavors are expressed and sensed at the molecular level, the topic was painted with pretty broad strokes to make it easy to digest, pun intended. Volume 3 is a milestone of the series, in which I have included an entire introductory course in food chemistry, which is why Volume 3 is about 70 pages longer than Volume 2. And if you just want the recipes, that's okay too. You don't have to read the first few chapters. But if you've ever been curious about what influences tastes and flavors and the rationale for deciding cooking times and temperatures and why things taste different when they're combined in different ways, this book will answer many of those questions. It also paves the way for Volume 4, which will be next year. I'm pleased to announce a new, completely different type of cookbook. If you watch my channel regularly, you know that the recipes I present are usually centered on meat or seafood and seldom vegetarian dishes. This new book is a departure from that norm. Only vegetables, fruits, eggs, and dairy are used in dozens of recipes here. The key here is that these recipes don't taste like typical vegetarian food. This isn't a bunch of salads and bean sprouts wrapped in pita bread. These are completely satisfying, hearty dishes that use the science of food chemistry to produce meat-like aromas and flavors. But don't worry, there's no weird chemicals involved, just ordinary foods and spices that you can get in any grocery store. This really is an entirely new approach. These are flavorful, filling meals produced by a distinctive cooking method and unexpected combinations of ingredients. Once you see how it's done and understand the method, you can apply these preparations to some of your own recipes and transform them into vegetarian dishes too. Also look for my cocktail book, Cocktails of the South Pacific and Beyond, Advanced Mixology, available through Amazon online. If you want to know more about my adventures as a chef around the world and have some great laughs along the way, be sure to check out the video tour of my book, 40 Years in One Night. It's up on YouTube right now. Click the link.